We're here today in connection with this heliport, obviously. Now, some of us, certainly myself, have been working on this issue for many years. We worked with the FAA, and we told both on the noise pollution and on the safety issues. We told the FAA that this is a Wild West, that the flights are unregulated, especially below 1,100 feet, that that's unsafe, that the corridor over the Hudson River was an accident waiting to happen. At the last meeting on that, about 2 weeks before the crash last August, in which we told them this was going to happen. Now the heliport at 30th Street on the west side was closed to tourist traffic, and so we have a lot more tourist traffic here, and there's been a very noticeable increase in complaints about the noise and pollution from the tourist helicopters here. Now, the FAA can regulate certain things, and we've talked to them about what they can regulate. The City of New York, however, owns the heliport. The City of New York can control certain things, and we're asking that it do so. In particular, we're asking, we sent a letter to the mayor yesterday, and we're asking that the city implement 3 steps immediately. One, that they implement a 311 protocol for receiving, responding to and addressing helicopter complaints, because it's been very clear that 311 complaints about helicopters seem not to be followed up. They seem to get lost and nothing happens. So we want to see a protocol for following up 311 helicopter complaints. Second of all, we're asking that the city increase oversight and planning of the helicopter industry, in particular with a focus on reducing greatly or eliminating completely the tourist helicopter traffic. Now we know, and the mayor says, that the tourist helicopter traffic is vital to the city's economy because it brings tourism. We frankly think that's nonsense. There is no evidence for that whatsoever. We've asked the city for evidence and have seen no such evidence. Intuitively, it doesn't make sense. We do believe that tourism is a major industry in New York City, obviously. We do not believe that a family considering whether to go to New York for its vacation, or to Montreal, or to Yosemite, is going to decide that on the basis of whether they can take a 15-minute helicopter trip during their 4 or 5 day visit. Now, it's true, if the helicopters weren't, if the tourism helicopters weren't here, the tourists would still be here. They would not spend the money on the helicopter. They'd spend it in a restaurant, or at a museum, or in a Broadway show. But they'd still spend the money because they'd be here. There is no evidence whatsoever. And we challenge the city, frankly, to show any evidence, to show any survey data that people make decisions on whether to visit New York as tourists based on the helicopters. So we're asking that the tourist helicopters be either greatly reduced or completely eliminated. And finally, we're asking that an assessment be conducted of the security risks involved in storing fuel, helicopter fuel, at the heliport down here. We all know that aviation fuel, helicopter fuel, is flammable, volatile, explosive. The more fuel you store, the more the risk there is. This is a heavily populated area, obviously. Heavily populated, especially during the day when you have workers here. It's heavily populated generally. And by increasing the flights here, they're going to have to bring in more fuel. So we're asking that an assessment, a risk analysis, we're asking that a risk analysis of the fuel storage down here be undertaken. Those are the 3 things we're asking immediately of the city. We have other requests of the FAA that we've talked about previously. And let me say, some of us have been working on this before 9/11, in fact, we were working on it. And we've been working constantly on the safety issues and on the noise issues. But here, particularly, the city can greatly control this. And we are asking that in light of the increased noise and traffic here, that they do so. You've all heard, as you were standing here, the noise. Imagine people in Brooklyn Heights, you'll hear from some representatives from there in a minute, or people who live or work down here trying to work and live with this incredible noise pollution that's increasing greatly. So, thank you very much, and I'll ask for our next speaker will be State Senator Daniel Squadron.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Congressman Nadler, for your leadership on this issue, as you say, over many years, and coming at it from all the angles, the FAA, on the ground, in the air. We're really very lucky to have your leadership. This is not a new issue. The difference is suddenly it's gotten a whole lot worse. we knew that was coming. When tourist helicopter flights left the 30th Street heliport on the west side of Manhattan, we knew they were going to come right on down here to lower Manhattan and take a problem that was already bad and make it really, truly just terrible. That's what's happened. This weekend, folks were enjoying Brooklyn Bridge Park, which is just open. Folks were down here on the East River waterfront. And Monday morning they woke up and they called and they emailed and they wrote, my office and the other elected officials' offices said, what has happened? We could not bear it this weekend. And there are really two concerns here. One is a quality of life concern and just the enormous cost to communities when you have continuous flights of helicopters. We've heard what the noise is like today. And the second is a safety concern. It's really just shocking that there's basically no regulation when it comes to flights of helicopters, density of takeoffs and landings here in the city of New York. That is just a disaster waiting to happen. And so we're here today to say to the city, we're ready and willing and able to work with you on figuring out how to better regulate, on making sure that the sorts of community leaders who are standing here with us today from both Manhattan and Brooklyn make sure the community members are able to have their complaints heard and followed up on through the 311 system. Make sure that we do have regulation, that we do have a process in place for what helicopter takeoffs and landings are happening, and that we don't have tourist helicopters just absolutely shattering the peace of neighborhoods across the city. And the third is make absolutely sure before something happens that we have the kind of security protocols in place that we need when it comes to the jet fuel, the helicopter fuel. It seems like it should be common sense that you need to know how to complain about, regulate, and make sure helicopters are secure. So this should be an easy one, and we look forward to working with the mayor at the state level and the federal level to make sure that happens. We are joined, as I said, by a broad group of community leaders from both Manhattan and Brooklyn. The Republic of Brooklyn, Borough President Marty Marco.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Senator, Congressman. Thank you, and colleagues and residents of Brooklyn and Manhattan. It's a pleasure to be able to join our two boroughs together. Keep this in mind and why I'm here. Tourism is ramping up as we speak. It is traditional during the late spring and summer that tourism is at its all-time high, other than the Christmas season, which means that the problem that we're experiencing, especially in Brooklyn Heights, obviously will become even more challenging. Now, it's very clear in many quality of life issues, it requires huge outlays of money. Here's one that's relatively simple to resolve. Bottom line is, every step must be taken to enhance the quality of life, not diminish it. And this also is a potential safety problem for the residents in Brooklyn, in which the helicopters are flying.
So, very good.
Hi, John Scalzo, publisher of Brooklyn Heights blog. Our readers have spoken, and they want change in the situation. We propose a 4-hour quiet period. We believe that's a start to solving this complex issue. Our readers live in Brooklyn Heights. They want to enjoy Brooklyn Bridge Park, especially Pier 1 is just open. It's a great place to bring your family, have a nice sandwich. And there sure are a lot of helicopters. One only needs to go sit there for a few minutes and just do the math. Count all the helicopters in the sky. I'd like to thank all the elected officials and the members of the press for showing up today. And BrooklynHeightsBlog.com, we have a petition there, so if you'd like to stop the choppers.